Welcome back. It appears the probe becoming extensive with the directors and secretaries and some of the officials are reported to appear before the panel. So who knows what next? Well, Mr. Paul Ananaba, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, joins us now to weigh in into this. Good morning and thank you for joining us today. Well, so much, there's a lot of hazy scenarios about what is playing out, who is where. Well, speaking about processes and who should be occupying certain positions, there are many who just have certain perspectives, but who knows what it is. But what comes to you in terms of how this process is playing itself out now about the presidential panel probing now not just the EFCC chairman, acting chairman now, if he still is, and now members of the EFCC, officials of EFCC, appearing before the panel?
Yeah, good morning, Nigerians. Yes, you say it's a bit hazy because not much information has been given out. I would have preferred a situation where we have at least the basic information. But I think what we know is that there's a presidential panel. Investigation is going on and all that. It's part of what has been complained about by several Nigerians. Information is important. It is with official information that you can do a thorough analysis. It looks as if you have to check here and there from rumor mills and all that, social media, before you will be able to even have some idea of what's going on. But what we see is that the former acting chairman of the EFCC is before a panel, and there's a catalog of allegations against him, and possibly we don't know the extent of invitation presently, but what you also know is what you have just said, that other people have been invited. Because when you do investigation, even if it is one person, it could lead to corroboration, trying to find out whether what the person being investigated is saying is correct or not. So that may be what it is. But because we now know at least that the panel is headed by Justice Salami, we have some degree of confidence that justice will be done, because Justice Salami has a pedigree of high reputation to many of us. So we believe that under his watch, he will give fair hearing.
Mr. Ananaba,
the rule of
when you now speak of, let me just jump in before you, perhaps you could also respond to it in addition to your thoughts or your points which you are going to make now. When you say justice be done, predicated on what? Is this panel, which law are we going to refer to? Do they have that power to see that justice is done other than making a recommendation? Isn't it going to go before the court of law for him to have... So the process.
This is a panel headed by a former president of the Court of Appeal. It's not just any panel. And it means that that's what we're saying. We do not have all the information. We can only discuss what we know. Having been headed by the former president of the Court of Appeal, it means the government takes this investigation very seriously. It's an investigation. It's not a trial. It's investigation. The worry and concern we have is that when the former chairman was chairman of EFCC, did he even also give people fair hearing? There was so much complaints. I don't know whether you had any issue of going to the EFCC during his time. But it is important that every Nigerian, whether he gave fair hearing and due process a chance, you were aware that many times, even when the courts grant people bail, and even the conditions that EFCC gives to people in terms of bail, when the court has said a burdensome bail condition it amounts to no bail at all. So when you have such conditions, today he didn't know he will be investigated in this manner. So we need to begin to build better institutions and not building better, very strong people. So today, Mr. Magu is now going through investigation. So when I say fair hearing or due process, it is that this is a judicial process. So since it is a process where the rights of a person is being looked into, that may lead to his losing his fundamental rights, either imprisonment or conviction, then there's a requirement of fair hearing. There's a requirement of due process. And that is what we're saying. Today, we can see the ephemerality of power, so that it is a lesson for Nigerians and even globally. Whatever position you occupy, do things properly.
Just maybe we'll touch on that grounds. Just maybe we'll touch on the issues you raised about, what you perceive as, the way he handled the office and EFCC during his time. I mean, the way and manner in which, these cases were handled. Just maybe we'll touch on that grounds. But, when you say that, I mean, there should be fair hearing and, we don't exactly know what the outcome will be, it seems you have an inkling because you have referred to him like over 2 times now as a former acting chairman of the EFCC. So it appears as though an outcome has come out already.
Well, it's because you read in the papers that somebody's acting now. Of course, the government cannot leave EFCC without an acting head. So there wouldn't be 2 acting heads at a time. So like I said, there is scanty information. If I say the acting chairman of EFCC, I don't know where I could base that because he's been with the panel for some days now, and more people are being called in.
So,
and it's been said that
where do we then base the activities of this panel? For instance, when you say, yes, it's headed by a former president of the Court of Appeal, he's going to ensure justice is being done. So what do we rely on? What laws do we rely on? What are the guidelines for a panel such as this one? If, for president's sake, who knows if there's one tomorrow, what is the requirement? Do we know if are they supposed to obtain a court order to hold him or not allow him go home for 3-4 days? What are the processes?
That's another level of discussion. Now, there is also no clear official statement whether he's been detained or not. The Constitution talks about detention. The Constitution does not envisage when a public officer is with the presidency. We don't know where he is, or you just get information, bits of information on the social media and all that, and the channel, television station. So it's important to have comprehensive information, but my analysis is based on what can be pieced together. Now, there were official statements from DSS and EFCC that there was no arrest, and that obviously there was no detention. But he's been with the panel for this number of days. Now, Nigeria does not lack laws for in our criminal jurisprudence and criminal justice system. This is not a trial where you'll be talking about whether it's a court or jurisdiction and all that. This is just an investigation. And it's just like in channels, if there's an allegation against the staff, they could set up a panel to hear what has been said and then give hearing, to the accused person. So that is what the issue, my understanding of what the issue is. So I have not heard that Mr. Magu is challenging his detention, or that he is complaining of being detained, or that he's challenging any process. So to that extent, I'm not going to speculate. But I'm going to say that whatever that is being done should comply with due process. If he was actually detained, I want to know whether the panel has powers to detain. I want to know whether they obtain an order from even a magistrate court for detention. These are due process. But like we said, you cannot now make definitive statements because there are little information that's been given out officially.
Theme, obviously, is the fact that there is little or no information, the scarcity of official information as to what is happening, how it is happening, who is being questioned, what is the way forward, who is the administrative head of the EFCC. And one wonders, what is the thinking behind that? Is it that putting out that information will jeopardize this process, or maybe something else is happening? What might be the thinking behind this? You know, as a lawyer, we understand, you know, some of these issues, you deal with them on a daily. So what do you think is the thinking behind this?
Well, not long ago, there was a jurisprudence that emerged in Nigeria, the jurisprudence of national security, where you begin to hear that once national security is involved, that fundamental rights take a back seat. I do not know whether that is the position, whether there are national security issues considering the status of Mr. Magu. But we, as legal practitioners, we do not support the idea of national security putting some fundamental rights behind, because it is fundamental rights and rule of law, due process, that identifies what is national security. So whatever is behind this type of procedure, I don't endorse it, because today is Mr. Magu. Tomorrow, it could be another person. So fundamental rights should be observed, rule of law should be followed, due process should be followed for everybody. And I think the Magu case will help in developing our jurisprudence now, that people will now begin to know that, everyone should be entitled to these basic principles that make us human beings. The state does not give you fundamental right. It is given by God. That is the essence of your living as a human being. People should be fair to each other. So that even when any security agency invites people or arrests people, they should know that such person that has been arrested is entitled to fundamental rights and is entitled to due process. And media trial, sensational news, and all that should be avoided, so that we before the person is even tried, you don't begin to hear that the person is a criminal already. That's what our Constitution says, presumption of innocence. Even as we speak, until found guilty, Mr. Magu is presumed innocent. So he should be accorded the basic rights. But in his time, did he do that? I doubt. So those who are occupying whatever position and those who will occupy such positions tomorrow, whatever position you are, remember that the next person is a human being. He should be given fundamental rights and due process, and the rule of law should be applied in whatever that is being done.
Well, it's a very long conversation about the process from the beginning of the entire process up until this moment, the issues of process, procedures, and fundamental rights, crucial one that you just mentioned is there. Because I'm also wondering if after all of these, hypothetically speaking, Mr. Magu is cleared, does he have a right to go to court and say that his fundamental rights were stepped upon? But then that's a matter for some other future day to come. But looking at the substance of the matter, which is the fact that Mr. Magu is supposed to be the lead, the the chief of the lead agency fighting corruption in Nigeria. And you would recall that the entire process of his confirmation and all of that, up until this moment, is mired in a lot of disagreement with the National Assembly until the 8th Assembly ended its work. Do you think that in any way smears the corruption fight of government? You know, putting in such a person into office who was not confirmed by the National Assembly and now is being tried, or rather probed, by the same presidency?
Again, I go back to the points I was making. Now, the point I was making is that we should continue to follow due process in what we do. At a time, why will we allow Mr. Magu to act for more than 5 years? Now, why will you allow Magu to act for 5 years in an acting capacity? Is he the only Nigerian that is capable of doing this work? If the National Assembly has said no twice, then you move on. There are many Nigerians who could do it. And you will imagine that the rejection of Mr. Magu was based on DSS report. And I want to endorse the DSS for being frank and open. That there was no compromise in their report, which many people would have looked at and wanted. And you see that.
So some of the issues raised here, I hope you can hear me. Some of the issues, isn't this an opportunity for a revision or revisiting the operations, the laws guiding operations of the commission? If you look at some of the allegations that they say that he's answering to, setting off certain seized assets and those kind of scenarios, do you think that this affords us an opportunity to ensure that whoever becomes the next chairman of the commission doesn't wield such powers as is reported in this case?
The powers of the EFCC chairman are defined in the EFCC Act. However, if you had followed my analysis, you will find out that the past EFCC chairman had become even bigger than the EFCC itself. We must build good institutions and not individuals. Now, what point it is that if it was an institution, then whether it is Magu or no Magu, the institution will still run properly. Now, it means that we should no longer assume and leave too much powers in the hands of the EFCC chairman. There should now be some rethinking and revisiting. In fact, an outright amendment of the EFCC Act. If you recall, at some point, the EFCC Act was amended at about 2006 or thereabout, because the EFCC, even when it came up, had issues with whether it could run along with the Police Act, the Constitution, and then the ICPC Act. There is so much convergence in the process. EFCC is about economic crimes. ICPC is about corruption. But that is another discussion for another day. So it's a time to review the anti-crime, anti-corruption agencies of government, streamline them, and have specialization. Now we also have NFIE. So that we can have some degree of sanity and specializations and effectiveness.
Do you think that?
Tied to one person.
Do you think these cases? Do you think these cases would have come up if, for instance, the AGF didn't raise them?
Well, the Attorney General, according to clear Supreme Court decisions, is more or less a god unto himself in terms of legal process in a country. So if the Attorney General raises a memo, as we are told, which is also part of what we are saying, these things should have come officially for Nigerians to know. But assuming that was true, if the Attorney General raises an objection or a query or a memo in the manner that we hear the Attorney General raised, it cannot be treated with levity because he's the chief law officer of the state, of the country. So you cannot equate a petition by any group to an advice or a memo by the Attorney General. So that memo would have weighed heavily. You know what it could take to actually interrogate the EFCC chairman.
Well, we need to wind down now. So tell us in conclusion, Mr. Nanaba, in the event that the panel says there are questions to answer in their recommendation, what should be the natural next step to take according to law?
Well, the Attorney General has all the powers. He has all the powers to prosecute even Magu. The only remedy against the Attorney General is for the appointer, the president, to remove him. Again, he raises the question of whether we should continue to have the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice together as one office.
So
I guess that's discussed severally.
That will be another major point in the days ahead. All right, Okay, we thank you for your thoughts this morning, Mr. Paul Nanaba, Senior Advocate of Nigeria.